X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Zach. Hi Adam. How are you doing today? Are you feeling feral? Are you feeling raw? Are you feeling primal?
Well, last week, we did our Hornheaders episode where we did sort of a Daredevil episode, and we did get some feral Wolverine, and I feel like we both really needed more Wolverine. So this is an all Wolverine episode. Snicked.
Snicked bub snicked. Yeah, that's us. We're the Snicked bubs. We're a podcast that goes snicked. We're really exciting people here. And it's the longest night, so we're going to do a Wolverine episode all about different Wolverine stories that Wolverine is in. And this is not a prank. This is not a trick. Not trying to make someone have the worst day at their job. This really is an all Wolverine episode, and it's not a trick like the Daredevil one was.
Yeah, Daredevil.
That sounds like I'm implying that this isn't a Wolverine episode. I do want to reassure people this is a Wolverine episode.
Oh,
I just drove 8 hours today, so I'm exhausted.
Well, let's get right into it with a story that I think might be beloved by some. Wolverine.
It's popular. Is the way I describe it. And this is the story that initially came to us from Patreon supporter and longtime fan of the show, Will. Will, as you might know, went on over to patreon.com/ well, I think back when Will was doing it, it was patreon.com/ Xavier Files, which is 2 URLs ago.
That's true.
It's true. It's now patreon.com/ comicsxf. That's where Will would go today if Will wanted to jump in there and reach deep down to his heart and his pocketbook and throw a couple of coins in our coffers. If you want to keep comicsxf running, if you don't give, the site's going to go dark. That's the thing. The guy that runs it, Zach, he's underwater. And I mean, if you listen, the podcast is free. And if you use the podcast, don't you think you should give? Adam, I can promise I didn't even watch I Think You Should Leave recently.
You just did the I Think You Should Leave thing.
I've done 2 of them in this episode. I don't even like that show that much. I think it's a perfectly serviceable sketch comedy that I watch so that I can understand the internet.
It's really funny. We're getting away from ourselves here, Zach.
I think it's fine. I don't think Will should leave. I think you should join Will in supporting us on Patreon. But Will suggested a story that is, you say beloved. I think popular is the right word. I am sure there are people who think this is the coolest story ever. It's Wolverine Volume 3, 20-31, Enemy of the State. Also technically Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. They're one story. They're collected in the same trade paperback. I'm not spending more time on this Mark Millar, John Romita Jr., Klaus Jensen, Paul Mounts story than legally we are required to because Will gave us dollars. So we're just doing it in one.
Yes. Well,
just doing it.
You have to because you need the resolution to the story. And this is a Mark Millar joint. So, boy, I was glad to see the John Romita Jr. art. But I was real nervous about that Mark Millar stuff.
Okay, so let's be clear because this will be a point of contention, and I do want to get back to the art. This came out, was published December 2004, so probably came out a bit earlier that year, October-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 12-issue, arc mega series under the Marvel Knights banner.
Oh, right.
Which this whole Wolverine run was under. I think in the middle of Frank Thierry's run of Volume 2 of Wolverine is when they switched over to Marvel Knights, but I can't be sure of that. They may have just done it for... They may have just switched it over when Greg Pak took over Volume 3. But I'd have to look, and that seems like a lot of effort right now. Because, again, I drove a lot today. I didn't prep the podcast. I'm sorry.
I don't think we're so concerned about when it started, but this is under that Marvel Knights banner, which was, the Joe
It started
Quesada.
at 13, by the way.
Marvel
Knights
issue?
13. I said Greg Pak, excuse me, it's Greg Rucka.
Oh, okay.
Who relaunched the book at number 1, and then at number 13 it becomes a Marvel Knights title. Though it may have... Now, actually, I have to check I have to cross-reference the credits for number 1 with... Yeah, so it was always... Number 1 of Wolverine Volume 3 was still edited within the Marvel Knights group. So that was under Axel Alonso at the time, who is editing this one as well.
Okay.
So it's Enemy of the State 20 through 31.
Can't say that there's probably much editing going on here. As I noted when we talked about Old Man Logan and that arc, I always get the feeling that Mark Miller thinks he knows who these characters are, and then he writes them in such a way where you realize he has no idea who these characters are, and gives them voices and motivations that are just just weird.
I do not think Mark Miller knows who these characters are. There's a story that was passed around our Slack recently about Mark Millar. We're pronouncing his name differently because we're bored. I don't know. I don't know which one's right. It's fine.
I don't either.
We're talking about Mark.
Yeah.
Y'all know Mark. There's a story that's going around the time of Civil War where at the editor's retreat, Mark Millar was like, yeah, your guys' is Civil War, because he's Scottish. So, oh, your guys' is Civil War. Yeah, who won that one, eh? But it wasn't a joke. He didn't know, and I understand that they don't teach American history in Scotland, and that's fine. We don't need to be, Amerocentric. But also pop culture, I feel like, is pretty Amerocentric, so I feel like you would have picked up via osmosis that the slave people lost that one.
Yeah, you might have
also the lack
taken
of
a guess.
slaves.
just a guess.
Wild that the man... Yeah, I don't think Mark Miller is that smart of a dude. I think great at making comics that teenage boys love.
I think the best equivalent that I could bring here is that it feels like a blockbuster piece of entertainment that is being designed for the masses. It's going to have big action pieces, and it's going to be like blood and guts, and everybody's going to things are going to explode. Whether there's actually any character stuff in there is debatable, and it's not that dissimilar from going to see a 20th Century Fox X-Men movie. It's not going to be the X-Men, but it's going to be some version of them. And for the most part, we just have a fairly small cast for this. So, and Wolverine is the premise behind this is fairly simple. There is a group called the Dawn of the White Light. They have teamed up with Hydra, and the Hand. And there's a new supervillain, the Gorgon. You may have heard of the Gorgon.
Yeah, the Gorgon tried to fornicate with a rock once.
I forgot about that.
We have to get back to the fact that for some reason I like Gorgon now, because this story does not make me like Gorgon.
Well, this is the introduction of Gorgon, and
correct. First appearance.
he's a very Mark Miller character. He like, murdered his parents when he was 3 or something, and now he can turn people to stone with his eyes, just like a real mythical.
Also,
Gordon.
he's the best at everything. Is the thing.
Right.
He's the best. He's the best samurai. He works with all the ninja, all the ninjas everywhere. All the ninjas.
Yes.
Multiple ninjas is who he works with, and they trick Wolverine into looking for this kid who goes missing in Japan, and then double trick him into dying and being resurrected as an agent of the Hand. The Shadow Demons,
right?
Ninjas, the ninjas, the Shadow Demon ninjas.
Yeah.
And then he does Shadow Demon ninja stuff for 6 issues, and Wolverine as a bad guy is like, okay, that's a very 14-year-old boy thought. Like, what if Wolverine just lost it and he turned on the heroes? How many people do you think Wolverine kills in this story?
Well, ooh.
I want to know your number. I want to know your number of how many people Logan, Lucky Jim, James Hallett, the Wolverine kills in this story.
Well, he doesn't actually kill any superheroes. He goes after
Yes, he does! He absolutely kills North Star, which we'll get back to that.
Okay, hold on a sec. That happens later. And that's not when he's a bad guy. That's after he's a good guy. No.
Well,
he kills North Star,
but then,
when he's back.
Then the Hand resurrects him, and then North Star is effectively dead until Mike Carey brings him back. Fine. Okay.
Right? I'm right?
We got to get back to him killing North Star, but yes, we'll put a pin in that one.
But he's mainly killing bystanders and shield people.
How many people? Because if you read closely, the story gives you numbers.
Oh, really?
I want you to know.
Just tell me, because I don't know.
I want to hear your guess.
100.
Wolverine in this story kills anywhere between 5,000 and 7,000 people.
Oh, please.
That is text, because it says he killed 5,000 people when he was possessed by the Hand, and he killed 1,700 people in his revenge against the Hand.
Oh my God. I must have missed that.
It's 2 specific lines, and it's blowing my mind, because if you want this to be a serious meditation on the violence that Wolverine causes and the damage that him doing this does to lives, which may not be in this story, but is important to keep in our minds for later, you can't have a comically large number.
Well, and you don't see
a man killing 7,000 people with knives is too many.
You don't see
all
him
he has
do that
is
either.
Knives.
Right.
You do see him kill a lot of people and destroy a helicarrier.
Oh, sure, but it's certainly not that many. And I guess
apparently it is.
The real draw here is supposed to be Wolverine going after the superheroes. So we see him go after the Fantastic Four. We see him go after Daredevil. But he never gets any of them. Elektra is always on his tail. Elektra's working for S.H.I.E.L.D. for some reason. S.H.I.E.L.D. is always on his tail.
I honestly can't tell you why.
Yeah, I don't even care.
She's getting paid a ludicrous amount of money is actually why. She does say that.
Sure. And all of this is, in service of this very, very silly plot with Gorgon, who is now hooking up with Baron von Strucker's wife, who is the oldest woman alive. Strucker,
yeah, he has a nearly immortal wife who is evil Hydra lady. She's also wildly irrelevant to the plot for being introduced. Like, she's there, and then Baron Strucker's murdered so that Gorgon can take over Hydra. Murdered, he gets his head cut off by Gorgon because he realizes that he has lost control of his thing, and also he gets cucked and loses his wife too. And I mean that in the very, very specific sense, not in the I like Donald Trump sense. I mean, he steals his wife and then cuts off his head and then sleeps with his wife a lot. Which I don't know what Miller's trying to do here, because it's not even like haha gross old people sex. It's just a weird plot point that he fixates on. Yeah, like, he just spends a weird amount of time for how irrelevant it is and she is to the plot, because eventually she dies in Wolverine's rampage without really doing anything of any significance.
No,
he could have just killed. He could have just killed Baron Strucker and been like, now I have Hydra. I am the two heads.
Yeah. So about midway, through this 12 issues, Shield gets Wolverine back. They reprogram him. He becomes a hero. Hydra /hand/ whatever, Dawn of the New Light, recalibrate their plan. They capture a whole mess of like supervillains and a couple superheroes,
like Z-list supervillains,
right?
Too.
Like people you've never heard of. They then throw them all at a helicarrier, at a Shield helicarrier.
A second Shield helicarrier.
Right. And, Wolverine kicks butt and saves the day, and that's about it. I mean, like, there's not much to this story. He does, as you say, kill Northstar.
Northstar gets... So, the last act that Wolverine does as a possessed evil hand guy is he attacks the X-Men. He goes to kill Kitty Pryde. Kitty phases so that she doesn't get stabbed to death, which is fair and reasonable. And anyway, Wolverine runs Northstar through with his claws into a tree, killing Northstar, a character who had not done anything in this story beforehand, so that's a weird thing to kill him off. Interestingly enough, Adam, the month that issue came out, do you know how many times Northstar died?
Oh, multiple times, correct?
Northstar died 3 different times that month. In in the Akira Yoshida Age of Apocalypse, and in X-Men The End. Those are 3 stories run out of 3 different editorial groups, and Marvel killed off their highest profile gay character in 2005, which for the youngins, and it's weird that we have to say the youngins, Northstar couldn't get married, and 2005 was not a good time for any of this. There were constant laws about putting I'm trying to think how they even describe, the Prop 8 crap in California was after this. So this is wild that they did that. They killed him 3 times, and then he gets resurrected by the Hand and plays a role in the next 6 months of the book, but he ends comatose with all of his friends and family thinking he's dead.
Yeah.
Which is a weird way for Miller to end this.
And you don't see him again. He obviously
had no plans for that.
You don't see him again until the Children of the Vault reprogram him in Supernovas. So it's an interesting turn for the character. There's all these little things that are supposed to be big reveals and twists, like Elektra, who dies and then gets resurrected by the Hand, but then was really undercover for the Hand and kills their leaders, and then they, okay. I mean, it's all in service of these big actiony moments. Every issue ends with a splash page. Some of them are interesting. Other ones are wait, why do we need a full page close up of Baron von Strucker, who just looks like Professor X? I don't know if I need that. I think the thing that got me through this story was, and I know there's a lot of debate about this out there, but I really enjoyed John Romita Jr. and Klaus Janssen's art here. I thought it was fantastic. It does get a little sloppier towards the end. You can tell that there are certain parts where they got a little rushed, but I really just, as a fan of JR, I did enjoy the artwork that was in these issues, but the story itself is just this clunky mess, and I find myself increasingly I don't know what Mark Miller stories I've ever enjoyed, but this definitely was not one of them.
I have a different opinion on that in that while I tend to like John Romita Jr., I tend to like John Romita Jr. to like 1995 maybe. So 2004 John Romita Jr. I kind of hate. He's hyper blocky. I think the inks. I think Klaus Jensen. I don't think Klaus Jensen's doing anything like bad with the inks. I think he's working off of some pencils that are stylized in a way that I dislike. And that makes it tough for me. I don't feel the kinetic action that this story needs, and in fact fell asleep 3 times trying to read it.
Oh wow. Yeah, I mean,
this is a bombastic action movie, and I was like, I cannot step. It was not even late. It was like 4 p.m, and I was reading it, and I was just like out. And my wife finds me. She's like, Zach, what are you doing? I'm up. I'm good.
Yeah, see,
I'll read this Wolverine.
When I look at the artwork, I still feel like the propulsion. I still feel that, but I'm right there with you. I feel like the story is trying to be like this larger in life thing, but then you get to these moments that are supposed to be character moments. Like whenever Mark writes the X-Men, Kitty Pryde, Rachel Summers, Emma Frost, he has no idea who any of these characters are. It doesn't sound like them. It's just bad. It's really, really bad. Probably the only character he maybe even comes close to nailing is Nick Fury. And we're saddled.
You're telling me that Mark Millar could write a tough guy good?
Well, and we're saddled with this like quote unquote evil version of Wolverine talking to himself, calling women skanks and like complaining about how many women Daredevil hooks up with, and it's like, what is this? Like this such a weird toxic thing happening here.
That's called that is called Mark Millar Comics, though. That is what that is.
Yeah.
It is. It's bad. People recommend Enemy of the State as something that you should read, and I would argue, no. You should not.
I would say yeah, go ahead.
In fact, no. I know I did not put this on as as one of the Wolverine stories you should read when I got paid to write a list that said you should read all these Wolverine stories, and then I made goof 'em ups half of them. But people quote that on Wikipedia now, so it's this very serious list. I know I didn't because I put Old Man Logan, because if you're gonna read one Mark Millar Wolverine blockbuster story, do that one. It's more fun, less weird, and it's got better art. It's got good Steve McNiven art instead of questionable John Romita Jr. art.
All right, I think that's a little harsh, but I understand.
Hold on. What?
Adam. You just turn into Tim Allen. Calm down.
You're telling me that you think that mid-2000s John Romita Jr. is stronger than peak Steve McNiven?
No, I did I say that?
Yes,
Slow
you
your
said
roll.
that.
I did not say that. I said that this is not questionable JRJR. I said that this is still solid JRJR. I'm not saying that it's better than the Steve
controversial JRJR, because I am not alone in my opinion. I feel like that's reasonable to say.
Yes. There are definitely people out there who, like, after a certain point, don't quite get what he's doing. You know what I mean? He loosens up his style, and he's teamed up with Klaus, and they're doing something that I appreciate, but I agree it's diminishing returns. If you see like where he goes, like especially with his DC work, it's very, very like, it's not great at all. All right, let's rank this thing. We got a lot of stories on this big list, and we got to figure out where this goes.
We do have a lot of stories on our big list because we're ranking all the X-Men stories from best to worst. The best X-Men story of all time is House of X Powers of 10. Number 100 is X-Force Volume 3, 1-6, Angels and Demons. Number 200 is Power Pack 20. I don't remember which Power Pack that is, but it's a Power Pack that Wheezy wrote, so it's probably really good. I should put names next to it on this list, but I forgot. Schism is at 300. 400 is Uncanny X-Men 202, 203, Phoenix vs. Beyonder. Number 500 on our list is Phoenix Endsong, and 543 is the Draco. Where's Old Man Logan? Because this is worse than that.
Yeah. Old Man Logan's probably...
Old Man Logan's at 259. This is worse than that.
This is worse than that. I highlighted at 372 X-Men Deadly Genesis. Better or worse?
How is Deadly Genesis at 372?
Because it's not very good.
No, I feel like that's high.
Oh, well.
Man, Adam, at some point, because we did Deadly Genesis as like our second episode, and we didn't do Mutant Summer Special as either our third or fourth episode. And I want to say my tastes have evolved in such a way that I cannot imagine putting New Mutant Summer Special below Deadly Genesis, and I've not read either of those stories since.
Listen,
it's just like how they sit with me as I've aged.
I'm right there with you. There will be justice for the Summer Special one day, but that...
No, there won't. We're bad at fixing this list.
All right, so that's my question to you. Is Enemy of the State better or worse than Deadly Genesis?
It's worse than Deadly Genesis.
I think it's worse.
400 is the JRJR Claremont Phoenix versus Beyonder.
I think this is better
than...
I think this is better than that.
2 spots above that at 398 is Uncanny X-Men First Class number 8, The Curse of the Kralich, which is a leprechaun murder mystery. And 2 spots above that is Dazzler, Herald of Galactus.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those are better than this to me. In fact, I think the Beast Amazing Adventures is better than this.
I would agree. But if we start looking below this at like the Five Lights, more Island Saga, I think this is good enough to beat those.
I think my feelings on it are just as on par with Judgment War, which is at 405, that I am fine dropping this as our new 401.
Perfect.
Right, what?
Oh, wait. Are you gonna...
right below the Phoenix and I would put it below the Phoenix versus Beyonder story.
Okay. Classic JRJR.
On this, his art's way better in that one. He does, in that Phoenix versus Beyonder story, he does do that like cool double page spread.
That's true. That is true. I'll give you points for that.
That's cooler. That's cooler than anything in Enemy of the State. Like, Enemy of the State, what's the best double page spread? Is it the one where all the bad guys are flying on jetpacks and they all look like the rough sketches that he was going to do before he actually filled in the detail on these characters?
No respect.
I don't know.
No respect. There's I respect
John Romita Jr. for like 25 years of his career. I feel like that's a lot of respect.
It is. But I don't think the art is nearly as bad as you're making it out to be here. So this is going to be our new 401.
It is. And Adam, I'll tell you what, I am a man who does own a hardcover copy of Kick-Ass, the Mark Miller, John Romita Jr. comic, that I bought when I was a teenager. I want to be clear.
Yeah.
I just haven't gotten rid of it.
Man, that's unfortunate. I remember when
it's right here.
I remember when that came out, and I was like, "Oh, John Romita Jr. is doing this," and then I found out what it was about, and then I was like, "No, this is not for me. This is
I
not for
actually
me."
liked the Kick-Ass movie. I remember my wife and I both liked the Kick-Ass movie. We thought it was pretty good. Have not watched it in a while. Cannot imagine it has aged. I don't think it was graceful to begin with. I cannot imagine it has aged gracefully.
No, I doubt that. But it does have Nicolas Cage in it. So let's go.
And Chloe Grace Moretz, the way she plays Hit Girl is very entertaining, even if the entire character is little girl says a cuss.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty one-dimensional. All right. Speaking of one-dimensional.
Just like John Romita Jr.'s art.
God damn. I will not stand for this. I will not stand for this when the next story we are talking about is so significantly worse in art. I can't tolerate this this bad mouthing.
I can dislike 2 artists. Hold on.
All right,
Adam, I have so much hate in my heart to go around. No, our next story is from Lethal Larry Hama's Wolverine run. That's Wolverine Volume 2, number 69 to 71. Dwayne Turner and Chris Ivey are the penciler and inker on this. Steve Bucoletto does colors. Wolverine goes to the Savage Land with Rogue and Jubilee, and some things happen.
It feels, tell me if you agree with this, it feels very much like an episode of the animated series. Like,
yes.
That level of, like, surface level interpretation of the characters.
Again, before the animated series had come out.
Yeah, but this feels like a very 90s story. You've got Sauron showing up with, like, claws and a crown for some reason. We're basically picking up after the Marvel Fanfare story where the mutates are there and, that guy with the big head is still threatening to turn people into primal versions.
Brainchild.
Yeah.
Brainchild. I hate him too.
Yeah, he's Hama's just jumping right into that. And really, the reason that the Rogue, Wolverine, and Jubilee are there is they think it's insinuated. They never say his name for some reason. They think that there's evidence that Magneto was there.
Yeah, because at this point, Magneto was still missing. So they're trying to find him. This is right after... So in Wolverine Comics continuity, this is right after all of the stuff with Silver Fox happens. Mm-hmm. So essentially the last year of this book was the death of Mariko Ishida at the hands of the coward Matsuo Terusawa. I'm sorry. The death of Mariko Yoshiba at the...
Yoshida.
I have to get this right. I have to nail the delivery here. The death of Mariko Yoshida at the hands of the coward Matsuo Tsuruyabe. And then Wolverine reckoning with both that and his false implanted memories of his time with Silver Fox that may or may not have been real, dealing with Sabretooth, dealing with Omega Red, and dealing with all the Team X stuff. So it's been heavy, heady spy stuff and a lot of emotions. And I get the feeling that Lethal Larry Hama just had to let it rip. And they're like, we're doing dinosaurs now. I gotta do 3 months of dinosaurs, man. I'm dying here. Too many ninjas. I gotta do 3 months of dinosaurs.
Yeah, and it's dumb. It's silly. I really do enjoy the Jubilee stuff in here. Jubilee gets an opportunity to knock a pterodactyl rider off his perch and becomes part of the pterodactyl rider clan, which is just great.
Larry Hama had an idea for exactly that and then realized he had 2 more issues of story that he had to give Jubilee a subplot in, and then he decided, maybe I just don't. Maybe she's just vibing this whole time.
It's great. I love it. Not a lot is happening here. A lot of this is literally just Wolverine and Sauron just punching each other and slashing at each other, and the mutates kind of running away from each other. And at the end of the day, they just kind of like leave each other alone and go home. There's nothing that actually happens here.
See, my problem is I like Sauron. I'm staring at a picture of original art featuring prominently Sauron. So I like him as a character. I absolutely do hate the Savage Land mutates.
Oh, they're terrible.
I'm sure there's no way we haven't talked about this before. I just hate them so much.
Yeah.
I feel like every time they are among my least favorite X-Men things. Like, listen, if they weren't in that one well-drawn story where Magneto comes back,
right,
no one would think about him. Hey, it's weird that Magneto spent some time creating life and no one talks about it, right? Like, he made mutants. He made more mutants. And no one has brought that up because, frankly, that's an absolutely wild thing for Magneto to do. Magneto today should not be able to make Barabbas, the 4-armed mutant in the Savage Land. I don't care about the Savage Land that much. I don't even care about Kazar that much. The only reason I'm excited about the upcoming Kazar series is because it's by friend of the show, Zach Thompson, with impeccable art by Ermin Garcia.
Oh, I am pumped for that. That looks awesome. Dwayne Turner here
absolutely looks like the most
is doing
not like Dwayne Turner here.
Yeah, Dwayne is doing like a serviceable Silvestri impression. His Wolverine is kind of interesting. He kind of draws him with like shorter fins on his head and like very, very bulky. He does a pretty good Jubilee.
He's got thighs is the thing his Wolverine has. His Wolverine will like crush a beer can with his thighs.
Yeah, but again, not much happening here. So, aside from the short amount of fun that I had with the Jubilee subplot here, unless you just want like 3 straight issues of Wolverine punching Sauron, which is kind of fun to a certain extent, but it just doesn't feel like much of a story. So
this isn't even the second best Wolverine goes to the Savage Land and fights dinosaurs story that I can think of. It might not even be the third. This is extant, and that's all it is. I have no hate for this comic in any way, no matter how much hate is in my heart. But I had read it before, and I did not recall reading it, and I still do not recall reading it now.
Yeah, it's just kind of blast. So let's put this on the list. I think it's probably going to be in the 400s.
Yeah, I think this is a member of the 400 club. Is it better or worse than 480, which is Wolverine 98 to 100, Furnace of his mind, Anvil of his heart?
I think that's at least visually much more interesting than this. Even if the story is a little bit wild, that has some pretty cool Kubert experimentation there. So I'm going to say it's worse. Okay,
so I do think there's an interesting part of the list
in
the 490s. 494 is Spider-Man and X-Factor Shadow Games, a comic I know I've read multiple times, comic I know I own, comic I have no recollection of anything that happens in it. Also, right under that, Psylocke and Archangel Crimson Dawn. Same thing. X-Men Liberators is right there. Extreme X-Men 5 through 9, which I think is the Gambit thing.
Yeah.
We're right there, I think, in the weird section. Like, weird forgettable.
All right,
Magneto Rex.
Here's what I would say. I think quality-wise, we're probably a step above 491, which is What If the X-Men Lost Inferno, which has that truly terrible Mark Pacella art.
It really does.
I also enjoyed this more than 489, X-Factor, The Quick and the Dead.
Okay, but I'm going to hold a hard line at 488, which is X-Men 5 through 9, The Man Who Fell to Earth. The reason why, I can recall in vivid detail what happens in those stories.
I think that's fair. So this is our new 489.
It is. It's the Savage Land Wolverine story, but not the one you're thinking of. Not that good one with the Simonson stuff and the Mignola art. You remember how on that story, Mike Mignola they're like, Mike, do you want to do this story? And he said, only if I can draw dinosaurs and only if Walt Simonson writes it. And they said, okay. And he said, crap. Love that.
And a classic was born. All right, buddy. You ready to talk about some mongrels?
Yeah, let's talk about the last story we're going to talk about today. It's from Jason Aaron's Wolverine. It's Wolverine Volume 4, numbers 10 through 14. Wolverine's Revenge. Now, Adam, have you read Aaron's run on Wolverine before? His 2011-ish run?
I have not. It's my impression that he went to hell before this, correct? As part of this?
Yeah, Wolverine. This run opens up. It's Utopia era, and Wolverine gets sent to hell. He doesn't exactly know why, but he is in Judeo-Christian hell. And some people are there. Mariko Yoshida's there. Sabretooth is there. Puck is there. Puck just died, and I don't think that Puck was a God-fearing man. And if we know anything about Jason Aaron, it's that he very much hates the Christian Bible, but also can not do anything but write about it.
It's in this story too. He's still pounding that. He just, you can't stop.
My dude is very angry about the existence of religion, and contrary to what some reviews on this podcast have said, Adam and I are not like super big on religion as a concept. But I think Jason and Aaron sometimes need to just like maybe find some more fertile topics.
Yes. Yeah, we've definitely covered Jason's predilection here. We're being introduced here to the red right hand, not the hand. Who are the red right hand?
Well, that's the question. So they sent Wolverine to hell, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then he gets out, and Puck becomes king of hell for a time.
Oh.
Because after Wolverine kills Satan, or something like that, I forget.
Cool.
Puck gets the sword that allows you to rule hell because he's the toughest guy in hell, which is great. I love that for Puck. But Wolverine's body while he was in hell was going around doing evil things, like, you know, bad guy stuff. And the X-Men fought him. They stopped him. Everything's fine, but now Wolverine wants revenge on the group that sent him to hell, the Red Right Hand. And the mystery of this story is who are the Red Right Hand? Because Wolverine ends up at their facility. He knocks the doors down, and he's like, where are they? And he's going feral on a rage thing. And there's all of these champions that come to fight him. We're talking about Gunhawk. We're talking about Fire Knives. We're talking about Cannonfoot, Soft Fist, and Shadowstalker.
I'm so glad you wrote down who they were, because I was going to be like, I don't know what any of their names are.
It doesn't matter.
No.
The Red Right Hand is using them to get, to stop Wolverine before he can get to their final area and have Wolverine have to, do a kung fu movie thing of kill the next guy to move up to the next level of the Mortal Kombat Tower.
At least that is what we think is happening.
I mean, that is what's happening. It is what's happening. It's just there's a twist to it.
Yes.
Because what we find out during this is half of each of these 5 issues is dedicated to a flashback for one of the members of the Red Right Hand. And it shows how Wolverine killed someone close to them at some point in their lives.
Yes.
Wolverine killed somebody close to them, and that radicalized them into wanting to spend their entire lives dedicated towards revenge against him.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so they have formed this cult, really, and they have figured out what they think is the best way to make him empathize with what they went through. And there's a variety of different scenarios here. Either Wolverine was like, on a hit with Sabretooth, or he, killed somebody because they were a bystander in a heroic situation. Whatever it is, he's killed all these people.
Or it was during Enemy of the State, and one of the 7,000 people he murdered.
Yeah. There's a direct callback to Enemy of the State.
I had forgotten about that. If I had not, I don't know if Jason Aaron thought that was like an iconic moment for Wolverine, and maybe it was. But if I had not read Enemy of the State that same week, I would not have realized that one of the characters' backstory is that his mom was the doctor who was supposed to help out Wolverine in Enemy of the State, and Wolverine stabs her in the gullet.
I will say, when I did that page flip, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like that callback. Because it's a, like...
If there weren't 6,999 other people that he murdered during Enemy of the State, I would feel, like, different about it.
Sure. So
she's not that special.
The cult is very like, Dakin is involved in this, and basically the cult is like, okay, well, what we're gonna do is before he can kill us, we're all gonna kill ourselves, and then he's gonna learn who these champions were, the mongrels. And Zach, who are the mongrels?
They're his kids. Wolverine killed 5 of his children. Because Wolverine's very old and has slept around a lot. So they found 5 of his kids, and I think it was a hand ninja or something. They tried to train him, and she pulled him aside and said, I can't train. They suck. They are going to die immediately. And they said, yeah, we know. It's okay. We want them to. So Wolverine, essentially the story is, look at all this bad stuff Wolverine has done. And you get there and you see that they have all drank the Kool-Aid. They are all out, and a video plays explaining their master plan. And Wolverine has now just killed 5 of his kids and cannot even get revenge on these people that sent him to hell. And they're like, that's all. That's how we break Wolverine.
Yeah. And you know what? I'll give Aaron a hand here. I think it's clever.
I think it's very clever.
I think it's pretty well executed. The art is, I'm on the last issue, which has a different artist.
It's Renato Gudez.
Thank you.
Does the art.
I think the art's pretty good. I mean, for the story that it's trying to tell.
I think the art's fine. I think that's going to be the big caveat on it. For the story that it's trying to tell, it is a well-executed thing. Probably doesn't need to be 5 issues long if we're being realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Probably get this done in 2 or 3.
Yeah.
We can focus. By the time it's the 5th person's backstory about how Wolverine has killed their family during some event in his long past, I'm sitting there saying,
I get it. Yeah.
You really, you could have just done the 1 and we would have gotten the idea of what happened. Maybe 2, it drags a bit.
Sure.
Like the mongrels are not that interesting, and I understand that is intentional. I understand exactly what Aaron's doing, and again, I think he's a very clever boy for doing it like this way. I have challenges with it.
Yeah, my issue is not as much with the flashbacks. I think those are fairly interesting and kind of unique in the ways in which Wolverine has wronged them. But the mongrels themselves are like so bland. One of them is kind of like a Claremont bondage assassin. One's a guy who kicks rocks. Like
it is weird that the Claremont bondage assassin knows that Wolverine is her dad and does still try and bone down with him.
It's really creepy. Like
it's weird that that's a choice that Aaron made.
Yeah, but all those characters are very, very bland and not fairly interesting. So it doesn't make the actual like fights all that interesting because you know he's going to take them out. It's just how long it's going to take.
Because he's destroying them immediately. There are no stakes to these. Again, intentionally. Again, very clever, Jason.
Yes, Can I also just give Jason Aaron credit for one other thing that Mark Miller, like completely... I didn't mention this when we talked about Enemy of the State at the beginning of the episode. For Enemy of the State to work, Wolverine has to die. You can't kill Wolverine. And Jason Aaron is very intelligent here in saying these villains know that they can't kill him. They sent him to hell expecting him to come back, and this is their revenge plot. And the whole thing hinges on the fact that you can't kill him, which I do appreciate. That makes sense.
I think it's clever. I do think that Jason Aaron has a great handle on Wolverine's voice. Mm-hmm. He's always had a great handle on Wolverine's voice. He gets it every time that Wolverine speaks, and it's limited, which is a good thing for Wolverine because he's a more introspective, quiet character.
Right.
It really works there. Here's my struggle with this story is that it's wanting you... It's a story that breaks the medium because it's asking you to accept that everything is realistic in the world and that the good hero Wolverine, who, yes, killed 7,000 people... In another story, we've talked about this. But, it's saying, well, in reality, Wolverine would be horrible and he could not be the protagonist and he would have ruined so many thousands of lives. And that's a beat that is on the same level to me as, well, what if Batman just donated all of his money to charity? Like, it's not engaging with the material. It's not like accepting that this is a comic. It's the let's do dark, gritty, and realistic versions of this. And that's not what I come to Wolverine for. I come to Wolverine for the stabs and the fights and the good stuff. And if there's introspective character work, it can be done, and it can be done well. I don't think the best way to do that is by saying Wolverine has ruined literally thousands upon thousands of lives, and I want you to cheer for him.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, if the Marvel Universe is to be taken like seriously and not as a cartoon, you have to accept that the collateral damage that's caused by the superhero fights are, catastrophic in terms of their deaths. Right?
It's why damage control works. Damage control works because it essentially says, hey, yes, we understand that, yes, Mr. Pedantic Nerd, there would be collateral damage. That's why it's a joke series. Damage control is a joke series because comics cannot survive that level of scrutiny. That's not the universe that they have built. So if your entire focus is on the collateral damage of superhero fights, and look at all this stuff, we have to destroy superheroes. Freaking go back to 1984, go enjoy all the deconstruction stuff that even engages with the material and does it well, and then don't regurgitate that back to me because it's already been done. We get it. People have made the points better than you could, and the counterpoint to that is, yeah, man, that's not what the story is about, though. It's fiction.
Yeah.
Yes, Wolverine would be a bad person in real life. I agree. Luckily, he's a two-dimensional cartoon character for children. So if he stabs 7,000 people, guess what? No one died.
Right. So I do think that it's well told. I do think it's well drawn. I agree that I think it's just a little bit. Oh, it's over the top. You know what I mean? Especially in the idea that these are his children, and he spends the last issue dragging their bodies around to go get buried. And it's supposed to be this mental thing for him. And
this is supposed to break Wolverine ahead of the school.
Right.
This is supposed to be, in Jason Aaron's mind, this is what makes Wolverine renounce violence. But here's the thing. Wolverine can't renounce violence. Do you know why? Because he's a man with 6 knives in his hand, and that's all he does.
Right.
He is violence. These stories do not get endings.
Well, that's the other thing.
And the terror of this.
Yeah, you're never going to get any kind of backstory on and nor would you want to, because the Mongrels are not interesting enough to warrant it. So there's a cool premise here, but you would never want to actually follow up with any of that. It doesn't have the same. What usually works with a Wolverine story is that there's mystery and intrigue about what happened to him in the past. And this time you're like, nah, I'm good. I don't really want to know any of that.
The problem is, besides twisting the knife of the Mongrels and these are your kids, by the way, you learn pretty much everything you need to know by issue 1.
Right.
You get it.
Yeah, you don't need...
With the first backstory, you understand what the Red Right Hand is doing, and you can infer, oh, yeah, they would probably be mad at Wolverine.
Right.
That makes sense. I wonder what these weird guys are. He probably killed their family, too. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. I think we could probably rank this.
Probably.
And, it's not that I, don't recommend this. I just, it's kind of middling to me.
Power Pack 20 is at 200, and it's better than... This is better than Power Pack 20 is better because this is the Proto Inferno.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. You're saying the Power Pack is better, correct?
Yeah, at 200, Proto Inferno Power Pack, which is what I've written down now so I don't run into this again, is better.
Yeah, I would say at 300, Schism is better.
Schism is better?
Yeah.
That's weird to say. That's suspicious.
Now, down at 350, we have Generation Hope, 1 to 4. The future is a 4-letter word. I think this is probably better than that.
Yeah, this is the right area, because right around there you've got Mr. M from District X, you got Primer from the Brian Wood Olivier Coipel X-Men. But just a couple of spots above is X-23 4 through 7, Songs of the Orphan Child, which is that X-23 Mrs. Sinister Gambit story. I think that one's better than this. I think we're in the right spot.
Yeah, I do too.
How do you feel about it compared to Tombstone Blues from Gambit?
I feel like I liked Tombstone Blues more, even though that was very stupid.
Too.
But I think
It's very stupid.
I do think I liked it better than, I know that this has its fans, but Girl School from Heck, I think this is better than that.
It is. This can be 349.
Awesome.
Wolverine's Revenge.
That was a lot of Wolverine.
Adam, we did it.
Yay!
We did it. And guess what next week is?
Well, what's next week?
It's not more Wolverine. That's the thing. It's not. Next week will be a fun one. And we'll talk about that in a second. But I did want to once again thank Will for being a great patron. If you want to be like Will, I gave a big spiel at the beginning of this episode. Go listen to that. Otherwise, Adam, what do you got going on this week?
Well, you were talking about Comics XF before, and we've got this new newsletter. So definitely check out our social media and make sure that you subscribe. There's 2 of them that have come out as of this recording, and I actually wrote the editorial for the second one. So, if you want to see my extended thoughts about Hickman leaving the X office, you can check that out exclusively there in the newsletter. So check it out, subscribe. I think that's cool. You can always follow me at Arthur Stacy on Twitter. And Zach, anything else you want to highlight before we talk about next week?
No, the newsletter's the big thing. It's really cool. Friend of the show, Dan Grote and Jason Large put a lot of effort into getting that going, among others. Vishal Gulapalli, Charlie Davis. It was a lot of work by a lot of people to get this thing going, but we're really excited about it. Essentially, here's the thing. There's the editorial. There's profiles about some people on the site and some of the non-comic stuff that we're enjoying right now. And then it's also got a nice little index of some of the best content from the site that you might have missed every week. And all the podcasts that we put out, like our friends over at Chris's on Infinite Earths or WMQ Comic and Ed Comics podcast. They have some great interviews. I don't know who they have this week. It's probably good. Is it Mark Russell? Was it Mark Russell this week?
I haven't listened to the new
week?
episode. The last one I listened to was their Mask of the Phantasm episode that they recorded last year during the pandemic. So, which I can't say is over. Anyway. Still living the times.
We can cut out the part where you admitted to one of our friends that you don't listen to their podcast. That's fine.
No. They specifically recorded it in case they needed a fill-in episode, and then they.
Anyway, go check out the newsletter. It's great. Next week, buddy, we're going back.
Woo!
We're going back to the Age of Apocalypse, baby.
Yeah.
We got some AOA stories that we are going to cover. I'm excited. This is the pick-me-up I needed. So that'll be a fun one. But until then, folks, this has been Battle of the Atom. We hope you survived the experience.
Get it!